World is getting colder, trying to get sober. Lord help me get stronger. World is on my shoulders.
How you doing today? My name is Isaiah, and this is the 12 at 12 podcast where we talk about real life and real recovery, growth and development. That's what this is about. And today we have a special guest today.
My name is Sean.
We're going to break down about homelessness and addiction, because with homelessness, chronic homelessness always comes with addiction majority of the time. Majority of the time, homelessness comes with addiction. And before we get into this, please tap the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet. And we are sponsored by First Step Recovery. So if you need help with substance abuse disorder, if you need help with any type of issues like that, please contact them and they will be happy to help you. Tell me, Sean, what's the first drug you ever used?
The first drug I ever used was marijuana.
Marijuana. See, the gateway drug. I call it the gateway drug, literally. Everybody usually always starts off with marijuana before they go into other things. And how was the first time it was when you used marijuana? How did it affect you?
Well, at first I got the giggles off of it.
Yeah.
You know, and I enjoyed it. You know, because it made me fit in, and it was fun.
So it gave you kind of an acceptance, you know, you laugh, you were chilling with your people, and you was like, you know what, man, this isn't that bad, right?
That's right.
And did you ever get to a point where you were getting mad when you didn't have marijuana? Is there a point that you ever got addicted to it?
I did it every day, and it got to where I wanted it every day. But I ended up not long after that going to harder things. You know, the marijuana, it was, like you said, the gateway to other things, and it led to the point where I wanted more than what it could give me. So because I wanted to feel what the next high was going to be like, I got to where it got me to where I felt like I needed to be, but there was nothing extra to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess you could say it is a gateway drug, because it definitely made me make a choice on going to something more powerful.
Who introduced it to you? Friends or family?
A friend.
Friend?
Yeah.
Yeah. Same here. Did you have both your parents in your life?
I had my mother in my life. My father got killed on a tractor when I was 8 years old.
Sorry to hear that. Now you said that you felt accepted. Were you being bullied in school, or was it like just you didn't fit in? You was kind of like an outcast and care less about it when you were high.
Well, I was kind of an outcast in my family and at school. I had two sisters and a mom, and my childhood was a little difficult. You know, I kind of didn't get along with my mom. There was a lot expected of me as a young man at 8 years old and stuff before the marijuana. It was a struggle at times. I didn't fit in at school. I was just an outcast. I didn't have a group of people that I fit in with. I didn't fit in with the bullies. I didn't fit in with the ball players, and so I was kind of like a nerd, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said a lot was expected out of you at 8 years old. Is because of the death of your father, and then it was expected for you to step up and be the man in the house.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that brings a lot of pressure, right? So a lot of people who was probably in the school who had that whole household, probably you had those different responsibilities than a lot of them had, and a lot of you might be out there like that with homes who probably might be broken apart, not from drug abuse or not even because of infidelity. It might have just been because deaths in the family and things like that happen. Parents die early, unpronounced, and then you're looked at to step up and then take that place and responsibility. And sometimes parents don't know how to deal with it, and then they put it on their children to take that responsibility when it's not your responsibility to be the man in the house at 8 years old. You're 8 years old, you're a kid still.
Right.
And from what I noticed from a lot of situations that I've seen with people, I have family members also, and they, bounce from place to place, and it affects people differently, you know. And majority of the ones who certain things happened, family members left or was on drugs. Also, they went to using drugs and they found their own way of acceptance, which ended up being, you know, once you get involved with using drugs, you end up being around other people that use drugs, and then with using drugs comes sentences, prison sentences, jail time, and crime. It just comes. First off, folks, drugs is not legal, and even if you had marijuana nowadays and had a card, you would have to have a medically prescribed medical card and have your reasons why the doctor would prescribe it to you. But besides that, in majority of the states, I ain't gonna say all of them because some of them might be recreational, but majority of the states, you know, you gotta have a card.
Right.
But where are you from originally?
I'm from Somerset, Kentucky.
Somerset, Kentucky. Okay, so now they recently have a legalized marijuana, from my understanding, to be able to have it with a medical card. You know, it's a strong thing. You know, people like to say that weed isn't a strong thing. It's a very strong thing. You know, you pretty much know, and you said to open it up. So what was the next thing that you used after weed, and who introduced it to you?
Well, weed got introduced to me at a young age when we moved from our dairy farm to these government housing because we went on welfare after my father died and everything. And then I got with a group of people there, and then after the marijuana came, I did everything right off the bat. First it was a little acid, and then it was cocaine and methamphetamines. And back then, though, methamphetamine, they called it biker dope. It was before crank and all that stuff. So I was introduced to it at a real young age because a lot of people that I hung out with were older than me. So, and the drinking, I never took on the drinking because I didn't like being sick the next day, feeling real bad. So I basically done the drugs over the drinking because it didn't make me throw up. You know what I mean? Yeah. I didn't feel like being sick and everything, but I still wanted to be part of the atmosphere I was in. Because back in the early '80s, growing up, it was if you had the drugs, you had the girls, and it was party like a rock star, you know, and MTV. It was all right there. You know what I mean? So it was just basically I liked what I seen because of the girls and being accepted, and I wanted to party like a rock star, you know. So I never thought about the consequences later on. But from the time I started using drugs is the time I started getting in trouble.
See.
So
it definitely it goes hand in hand. And you know, it's different because like it's the same story. Rich, poor. I always say addiction doesn't have a economic status on it. It doesn't even have a color on it. People like to say it's a race thing or a color thing. It's not that, you know. You got rap over here, you got rock and roll over here, you got country music over there, you got hip hop, whatever it is, R&B over here. Every genre of people who did music did drugs. Pretty much everyone. And it's just because drugs, it just attacks everybody. It's everywhere. Cartels move it everywhere. So it really doesn't stop anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it affects people in different areas.
Yeah, I was taking money from my family. I was breaking into schools. I was breaking into people's houses. I was in juvenile by the time I was 14 years old. I went all through my childhood, basically in the care of the state of Kentucky. You know, probation, I never did it. I ran. You know, I was always on the run. And all in all, I was not a good role model, and I was not a very good. I had a good heart, but I made bad choices. You know.
Altogether, how long did you do inside of the system?
Oh, gosh. From the time I was 12 years old until I turned 18, probably 4 or 5 years out of that 18. Well, the whole time I was a juvenile, from time 12 to 18, I was on probation or on the run or locked up in an area. Probably five years out of the 6.
So was there ever a time during your time of using, what was your main drug of choice after, like, when you got older?
When I got older, methamphetamines became my choice of drugs.
Your choice of drugs.
Yes. Yeah.
And how did that affect your body?
It gave me energy. It helped me work all the time. It made me feel driven. I could stay up for hours and work, concentrating on something, and I didn't have no other worries in the world at that time except for being awake. I was afraid if I slept, I would miss out on something, and it was cheap. That was the thing for me. It was a cheap high, and to me, which I know better now, it was maintainable because cocaine was too expensive, the pills were too expensive, even marijuana costed more money than that. So I went to the cheapest drug that was available to me for the best high.
Interesting. So, so the thing that was more cost efficient, right?
Yes.
So let me ask you this question. You said that it was helping you stay up while you worked, and you was able to work a lot. So at that time, did you consider yourself a functioning user?
I used to use the phrase a functional addict, but I know now since I've gotten sober, there's no such a thing as a functional addict. You're still screwing up on something. You might be working like you're supposed to do, but your money's not going to the right places. You're still neglecting your body. You're still not taking care of your children. You're still leaving your family out of your life, and you're isolating. And back then, I didn't get that. I spent a lot of time away from my kids because I was high, because I didn't want them to turn out like me. And for some reason, for me to take myself out of their life at that time, I had an excuse to make it okay. But I know now it's not okay. There's no excuse for a person not to be in their children's life, And I could carry that. I carried that guilt with me for a long time. Well, who cares? You know what I mean? Why should I worry about it? I don't need to be there because I didn't want my children to be like me. But I robbed my children of their father, and I thank God every day now that I'm able to make them amends, So,
Amen. That's definitely a hard thing, not being in your children's life, and that's what comes with a lot of drug use people. You're not in your children's life, and it causes a lot of broken homes, and children hold grudges, and then it could go down to the next generation and things like that. And things like that happen, It doesn't always go down to the generation. Some generational curses do get broken all the time. But it's still the grudge that that they might hold against certain parents, and then they have to go through more processes to be able to mend back that relationship, because a child wants to ultimately be in their parents' life, and they feel like they're picking a drug over it. But kids, even if you're older and you have parents that use it, listen, when they get to that point of that drug use, it's something that's literally chemically taking over their body and altering their mind. So when you're using drugs, you're moving in an altered mind state. Don't hold a grudge against them because of what they did. Let it go in your heart. Give it to God, because it's doing nothing but hurting yourself. It's hurt. Some people are even addicted to pain. You might be addicted to pain. You might be addicted to the things that happen in your life, and you're holding on to that. Let it go today if you are, and mend those relationships with your family. Mend it with them. You understand that? Try the best way you can. If they don't want to, cool, but at least you tried on your part to make things right. And if you have been a user, do the same thing. Don't be ashamed. Of course, being used, you do shameful acts, and when you get sober, you start thinking, I could have did things better. I wish I would have did things different. But when you look at it, it's like, listen, we can't turn back the hands of time, bro.
No, we can't.
We can't turn back the hands of time, no way, shape, or form. So where we're at, take accountability for what we've done, just like you have, and then like you said, you move forward. So you were working. You ever got to a point where you were established? You had your house, you had your car, and things like that. So how did it get to the point where when you were using, you became homeless?
Basically, it was bad choices in relationships with my drug addiction, because I was usually with someone that was addicted to drugs as well.
That's an
So
important thing too.
bad relationships with people that had the same habits I had, and then financially wasted my money on our drug habits, mine and theirs. And so therefore I couldn't pay my bills, I couldn't keep my place to live or a vehicle, because everything I would work hard, I would just give it to the dope man, you know, give it to the dealer for my drugs. And that was my life. And the thing was I got to the point when I become homeless the first time that I was kind of okay with it, as long as I could still work and get my dope. And there's nothing all right with being homeless, you know. You've already give up to me when I'd already give up on myself when I become homeless. So why care? And the thing is you can't. I know now you can't stop never caring, because you gotta love yourself.
Is it that stop caring that made you like, listen, I don't care if I don't care, that hopelessness that had you thinking like, I don't care if I have a place over my head as long as I got food in my stomach and drug to use?
Well, I got so far out there on the drugs that I really wanted to die, basically. I didn't want to commit suicide because I believe that's a cardinal sin. You know, I don't believe I could be forgiven for that. So I didn't want to kill myself, you know, and so I just wanted to end it as fast as I could. So I just kept doing more and more drugs, hoping that one day I just wouldn't wake up, you know, or that I would just fall out and never come back. I mean, I even begged for it at times, but my plans in my life are not in my hands, because I'm still here, because I tried more than once to overdose, and it never happened, you know. I even moved out of state to another state to die, and God made other plans for me and said, it's not your time, you know. So
Amen.
I stayed in the addiction, you know, because I wasn't ready yet. But he didn't let me go down there and die like my plans were.
Yeah.
So
Hey, that's a beautiful thing, because our plans ain't God's plans.
that's right.
You know, it seems like even during your madness and addiction, you didn't lose that faith in God.
No,
You just lost that faith in yourself that,
yes.
you know, when you wanted to just give it up. But you still here because God was like, listen, you might want to do this, but son, I'm not going to give up on you. See, that's a beautiful thing, man. The Lord God is so good, man, you know, and he hasn't given up on all of us, you know. We go through what we go through, you know, hard times, situations, and we're still here standing strong and continuously moving forward. You know, so many testimonies and people who come up and we have on our channels, and you can look down the channel, subscribe, check them all out on the channels. God is good, and he helps so many people go through the situations. You know, we see miracles, because coming out of the madness that so many people died from, and you still be standing here, it's a miracle in itself. Because a lot of people taking a whole lot less drugs than you probably have, and they died. But you're still here.
Almost everybody that I ran around with and grew up with are dead from drug addiction. There's less than a handful of us left. And there was probably basically almost a whole family, a handful of, there was at least 15 or 20 of us that were a little group and were family. And not all of them died from a drug addiction, but most of them have. Most of the people that I run around with and grew up with are all dead from heroin or fentanyl. I lost a sister from fentanyl as well.
Man, sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. See, that's a tough thing that people have to realize, that with drug use too comes premature death. It just goes hand in hand. It's only two things. Jail is gonna happen eventually. Early death. It's just gonna happen, folks. It's not the best route to go. It's not the best route to go. If someone's offering it to you, don't get involved with it. And the thing that you said, you literally said that you were using and the people you're around were using.
Yes.
So when you stopped being around those certain influences, when you got sober, did that help with getting you more established?
Yes. When I got sober, it's because I got busted again, got locked up again on another drug charge. I got really tired of being incarcerated, and so I chose and asked to come into recovery because I'd never been in recovery before, because I wanted something different. And it also got me a place to stay where I wasn't around anybody I know. So I chose to stay away from the people that I cared about that were still in the addiction, to work on myself and to get right with God. And that's when I found myself and I got my spiritual awakening, when I got right with God again. And I've been doing the same thing ever since. Helping other people has helped me, and being sober has helped me tremendously, because mentally I don't want to die anymore. I'm doing the best I can to be a father. I communicate with my children. My son is still he's still a little distant from me, but that's a work in progress that I'll never give up on. I love my children very much. They are my legacy. I see my children. My daughter actually don't judge me for my past. She's proud of me, and I'm proud of them. They had a great mother. Thank God for that. But my whole life has just changed me personally all the way through, because I genuinely care about people now, and I care about myself, and I care how I look at other people when they see me. I don't want people to see me strung out going, look at that crazy person out there, and why has somebody like that got to do that? I want to be the one that's going out there offering a hand to help somebody, not be one of them that's causing an effect on the people around me. I want to be a positive effect. I don't want to be a negative effect anymore. I had so much negativity in my life for so long that I just can't see ever being there again, and allowing myself to be that way. Life is too good and too short for me to waste any more of my life on something that's totally useless.
Yeah.
So I chose to stay clean for myself.
That's great, brother.
And I am very, very grateful for that.
You have to do it for yourself. And that's the thing about it. I always tell people, when you do anything, even if it comes to your health, whatever you do, you might always want to eventually please someone else, but you have to do it for yourself. Because if somebody lets you down, bro, then what happens? You're just gonna go right back to it. You weren't ready, because people will let you down. It just happens. It's just human nature, It's just people, even if it sometimes is willfully or sometimes unwillfully, certain things happen and people let people down. It just happens. And if you're not doing it for yourself, then even if it comes to diet, exercise, whatever it is, and getting clean, getting sober, you're gonna fail out.
My family actually don't know that I've been homeless. This is the first time I've ever come out and talked about it, and my kids are going to see this. I'm going to share this with my whole family.
And
I was homeless here. I was homeless in Georgia, and I never told a soul.
just dealt with it.
Just dealt with it. I never called for help. I would call them months and months, sometimes a year at a time. Say, hey, guess where I'm at? Feeling full of these stories that I was doing okay. But yeah,
you was on the street.
I was on the street.
You was on the street, strung
out, putting a needle in my arm.
You know what? I talk to people inside of recovery, and a lot of them have stories they want to tell, and they're like, I don't want to go out and tell my people that I'm in a place right now, in a shelter right now, because they think I'm doing okay. But really, a lot of people are in shelters. A lot of people are in recovery, sober living houses, because they've been homeless, and then their people back, their family back home, don't even know that they're literally staying in a sober living house or they're homeless on the street. And so many people are like that because they're just ashamed to tell them, like, listen, I'm going through this. I haven't been there because I've been strung out and I'm homeless right now. So instead of, that pride to have you, like, you don't want to look that way towards your family. So it's like, you have this problem right now. You got this disease. You got this addiction that's literally running your life right now. And you're scared to tell your family members, like, this is what I'm going through. This is what's causing all the friction inside of our life. I'm hooked on crack. I'm hooked on meth. I'm hooked on coke. I'm hooked on heroin. Hooked on all. Whatever it is. And they're not telling people. People, you got to tell somebody. Tell somebody and get help. Get help. Because if you don't literally open your mouth, closed mouth don't get fed.
That's right.
If you don't open your mouth, people are not going to know. They're just going to think you're neglecting you. A lot of the problems people might be facing inside of their family with drug habits and drug use is because they're not being honest with their family members about them using, about them being homeless, about them prostituting themselves, about them having to go out and steal for it, do this, that, whatever for the drug. And then they're just thinking you're neglecting us because you don't love us. And they don't really know the hell you're going through. Just trying to maintain. You're really just trying to go off and die because the addiction is taking your life, taking your soul.
Yeah, I learned when I was younger in my addiction through life that once you're addicted, you're addicted. It took complete power and control over my thinking, my way of life, how I lived my life, who I had in my life, and it's something that you just can't quit on your own. When you're an addict, it takes full control of your life until you can learn how to manage your life and live your life the right way, and basically rewire your thinking. It has full control all the way to your soul, and so it's not something that you can pick up and redo again because like you said, the past is gone. But if I do drugs now like I did in the past, guess where I'm going to end up? Right back in my past.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
But with the knowledge I got today and the strength I got through God and where I'm at with my life today, I don't even want to live that way no more. I thank God every morning that I got a life to live, and I'm thankful that I'm sober today, and I'm thankful I have a purpose. When I was out there getting high, I didn't have a purpose. In my mind, in my heart, I didn't have a purpose. But today I do. So I am very grateful for that.
Thank God, thank God.
So.
Yeah. So where are you now? How long have you been sober right now?
Well, I pretty well got sober in June of 2023. I had one setback 14 or 15 months ago. Came right back into recovery before I went back out all the way. I seen it coming, so I got back into help because I know that I hadn't. If I hadn't I would have been back out on the street again. So I've used one time in 2 years.
Congratulations,
and
one day at a time.
I used every day, even when I was locked up, from the time I was 12 years old until I got sober at 51. So being 2 years sober, besides the one slip up I had, is like climbing Mount Everest, to me.
Congratulations,
I mean,
bro. One day at a time, one step at a time. Is there anything that you would like to tell the people before we wrap it up?
Only thing I can say is don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your higher power. Find what your purpose is and stick with it. Achieve your goals and don't give up on yourself. Love yourself. If you can't never love yourself, how can you love someone else? But get right with your spirit and get right with God, and everything will fall into place. And if you spent time away from your children, make it every day or every week. Call them, send them messages, Facebook them. Don't give up on them, because all in all, they're just angry with you.